person in 3D. We like that? It's good, right? Feels cool. Yeah. So I'm Harry Mosley. I joined Zoom Video Communications 4.5 years ago as the first global CIO for the company. And now I'm actually in transition to retirement. I'm going to retire early in July. I will continue with Zoom as an advisor, and so they call me the global co-CIO while I'm going through transition. Whilst we all could have done without the pandemic, for sure, it disrupted our lives. Many people lost their loved ones. There are things that we need to focus on and some of those positive outcomes. Before we do that, I would really like to recognize an awful lot of noises. Between bells and the Van Gogh and now the trolleys out here, a lot of distractions. So before I do that, though, I'd like to recognize all those frontline workers, the emergency services, healthcare providers, the delivery people, the people who actually couldn't work from anywhere, the people who actually had to come on site and keep things humming. So let's do a round of applause for them. Thank you. Over the last 2.5 years, millions of people around the world got to participate in the largest work experiment ever. In a matter of weeks, knowledge workers around the world had to pivot to a virtual environment to provide their products and services. But due to the severity of the need and the resiliency of us as humans, we actually made it work. And in many cases, we saw huge productivity improvements. During the pandemic, every company changed, as did Zoom. So here's a bunch of metrics for you. So going into the pandemic, these are public numbers, January 31st, 2020, April 30th, 2022. Going into the pandemic, we had around 2,500 employees. As of April, we were almost 3 times that number at 7,000. Going into the pandemic, our annual revenue was $750 million. As of April, almost 5 times that at north of $4 billion. Going into the pandemic, we had 82,000 customers, clients, that we define as greater than 10 employees. As of April 30th, almost over 6 times that at 500,000 clients. Zoom went through enormous growth. We changed our processes. We changed our procedures. That being said, the technology architecture of Zoom is built, that Zoom is built on proved to be robust. We maintained our reliability. We maintained our performance. And we continued to innovate at speed and scale. I want to talk about our vision and our mission. The vision at Zoom is to create a virtual environment that's as good as an in-person experience, if not better than an in-person experience. So some examples of that. Let's talk about language translation, if you will. Imagine you get 4 people in a conference room, and they all speak different languages. They need to agree on what language to speak. Now let's put those 4 people in a virtual world with language translation, simultaneous language translation done using ML and AI. They can all speak their native language. They can all hear their native language. They can all read their native language. Let's think about persistent whiteboarding. Whiteboarding from anywhere, anytime, any device across the globe. Try doing that in person, bringing everybody together so they can whiteboard. They actually can't whiteboard together. If you put 4 people in a room, try whiteboarding, 4 people in a room at the same time. Really difficult. Doing it in a virtual environment, doing it asynchronously, dramatically better. Think about events. Think about an event like this. Doing it a hybrid where you can bring in speakers, you can bring in participants. In a virtual event using the Zoom platform that scales to 50,000 participants, where we do all the heavy lifting, you worry about the content, the agenda, etc. You can actually have an in-person meeting in the virtual event So I can actually talk to you, I can see you, I could chat with you, but I can also hear what's going on the main stage. Very cool. Let's talk about our mission. Our mission is about empowering people to accomplish more. When I say that to people, they immediately say, yeah, Mosley, sure, more meetings, great. No, it's not about empowering people to have more meetings. It's about empowering people. Let's take medical practitioners. Empowering medical practitioners so they can see more patients in a seamless and frictionless fashion so their patients can go on and have great lives. It's about empowering educators to educate our children so they can grow up and have great careers. It's about empowering investment bankers so they can build great companies to actually employ our children. Zoom is a platform. We're known for meetings. I'm sure many people in this room have used our meetings platform, but we are so much more than meetings. We have meetings, we have what we call rooms, we have a phone platform, we have a chat platform, we have an events platform, we have a webinar platform, we have our Zoom apps, and we have a robust developer platform. That's not enough. We also recently added a contact center earlier this year in February. So now contact center as a service. I'll pause for the bells. Never thought, I'm Irish, by the way, born, educated in Dublin, left here in 1977. Never did I ever think I'd be back in, oh God. I'm not sure if this is being recorded, but you can't make this shit up, right? It's like, this is real life. Never did I think I'd be back in Dublin at the RDS making a presentation in a circus tent. If my parents were still alive, they'd say, Jesus, Mosley, what have you done? Anyway, we recently had a contact center. I talked about persistent whiteboarding and language translation. And then we introduced Zoom IQ, which is the short for, this is really hard to say very quickly, Sales Conversational Intelligence. So what it does is it analyzes your sales call and then tells you where you're winning and where you're losing in the conversation. Zoom has gone from being an amazing app to an even more amazing platform. And so why is this important? Let me explain. This is really important because we've always talked about client experience, right? Client experience was top of mind for every company. Well, it is now much more than client experience. It is about employee experience. There's a talent shortage, there's a skills shortage, and so now employee experience is on par with client experience. And let's go through a few examples of things. So, big storm in New York. I go down to my basement. There's water in the basement. Oh, shit. Okay, well, these things happen, right? So I call up the insurance company. I explain to the insurance company. What's that? Yes, it rains in New York. So I explained to the insurance company that I had this water in the basement. They asked me to explain to them. I do my best to explain. It's not good enough. They say they need to dispatch an engineer. The engineer comes to my house. I ask the engineer, how long did it take to get here? He tells me an hour and a half. He goes down to the basement, he makes a video, he takes a few photos, he leaves. 15 minutes he's in the basement, an hour and a half to get home. Wouldn't it have been a much better experience for me as the customer, the agent, the engineer, the company, if they had sent me a video link and I could have done the video and showed them what had happened? But no, that was not possible. Let's take another example. We recently did an acquisition of a company called Solvi. Solvi is an AI chatbot technology. So we've all done shopping online, right? You're shopping online, up pops the chatbot says, can I help you? You're interacting with the chatbot, then the chatbot gets exhausted, you throw your hands up in the air and you get distracted and you leave it. What about a different experience? What about the experience where the chatbot gets exhausted, the chatbot passes you off to a human, so now you're chatting with a human. The human says, can we elevate this into audio so I could talk to you? And then the human says, how about we move it to video and I can show you the piece of luggage that you're looking at, much like what you'd experience in the store. Much better experience, right? We have a retail client actually doing something like this. I'm at home in my apartment in Manhattan. I like fresh juice in the morning. I have this great juicer. I'm making juice on a Monday morning. This is a true story. This is another factual story. The juicer starts making this clunking sound. After breakfast, I call the company. I explain what's happened. The agent says, can I send you a video link? I'm like, oh, yeah. Get a text to my phone. I click on the link, turn the camera around. She says, show me what's happening. I show her what's happening. She says, okay, we need to replace the machine. Duh. Turn the machine over. I need to see the serial number and the model number. And then she texted me a shipping label, texted me the instructions where to take my broken juicer, and texted me a tracking number for my replacement juicer. The entire duration of this call was less than 5 minutes, beginning to end, and I got my juicer on Friday. How cool was that? What we're hearing from clients around the world is, it's a strong employee experience that delivers democracy and parity. It creates inclusivity, it creates equality, it levels the playing field. Clients also want to feel like that. They also want to feel the inclusivity, they want to feel the equality, they want to feel the partnership. And so digital transformation is the bridge between these two. It's the bridge between the employee experience and the client experience. I don't call it digital transformation, I call it digital disruption, actually. For years, we've talked about this digital transformation. And now we actually understand it. It's about removing speed bumps. It's not just about the colors and the fonts and the graphics on the screen. It's about creating a seamless and a frictionless experience. And we've heard a lot today and yesterday about artificial intelligence and machine learning and augmented reality and virtual reality. We're barely scratching the surface, my friends, of how we're leveraging these technologies. And we heard it from Zelensky as well this afternoon. These things are going to change the world that we're living in, and so it's super exciting. And companies don't have a choice. Companies don't have a choice whether to go through this digital transformation or not. If they don't, they're going to, as I would characterize it, stay in this analog world, and they're going to get eaten by companies that do. Leveraging the Zoom platform, you can take the Zoom components and you can put that into your wearables, you can put that into your drones, you can put that into your proprietary solutions, and you can create sort of fantastic experience, not just for your employees, but for your clients, and create this whole level playing field. The Future Forum from Slack did a survey of 10,000 knowledge workers between Europe, US, and Asia Pacific. And what they found from these 10,000 knowledge workers, 2 data points I'll share with you. 76% of those knowledge workers wanted flexibility about where they worked, and 93% wanted flexibility about when they worked. Think about that for a moment. 76% flexibility about where, and 93% about when. CEOs around the world are worried that we're going to flip back to the way things were. I know, what lots of companies are saying, they want their employees back in the office, but they don't really want them back in the office 5 days a week because they've got so much more productivity. They want to have hoteling, and they want to have, during the pandemic, they actually delegated responsibility down to units, business units in their group, and they want to maintain this. They don't want to put back into the processes that they had before. They want to maintain this flexibility for the different business units. What works for sales might not work for marketing. What works for HR might not work for finance. So we've got to maintain this flexibility. Workers are now emerging from their home offices, their dining rooms, their bedrooms, their kitchens. In many cases, what people have done at home is they've upgraded their technology. their technology at home could actually be better than what they're going to have back in the office. This is a real problem. Their furniture at home might be better than what they have in the office. And so when they go back to the office isn't meeting their needs. Asynchronous work is on the rise. To be able to work offline, to be able to work with your schedule. It was a beautiful Tuesday afternoon. I decided I'm going to go out for a bike ride and I could finish my work in the evening. It's about working from anywhere and not necessarily our homes. The Great Resignation, we've heard about this Great Resignation going on in the States, 4 million people resigning. I don't think they actually resigned and said they're not going to work ever again. I think it's the great job rotation. What employees want is they want flexibility about where, when, they want that work-life balance. And if you are not providing that, they will find a job that does provide it, and then they'll quit. And by the way, it's not always about compensation. Compensation is actually taking a second step towards the work-life balance. So we need to plan for hybrid in every setting. General consensus is that knowledge workers will want to work in a hybrid environment, some in the office, some elsewhere. And the office has to be exciting, it's got to be inclusive, it's got to promote equality, it's got to be safe, it's got to be collaborative. Consensus from companies around the world is that the office has to serve a purpose, and the purpose of the office is where people come together to work together. It is not the only place we can work. We have proven that as knowledge workers. So it's a place where people come together to work together, to ideate, to create, and to socialize. One of our clients in New York created a social floor in their Midtown office. They put in high-end espresso machines. They put in beer taps. They put in wine taps. They have happy hour at 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock on Thursdays. Why have they done that? They've done that to encourage the teams to come in on a Thursday to have happy hour. They come in to meet. Employees want flexibility, they want flexibility, and they want flexibility. They want to be able to work on their schedule, not necessarily the employer schedule. And to support all of this, Zoom has done amazing things, that's my opinion, with things like Smart Gallery. People in the conference room, we're leveraging artificial intelligence in the camera to stream those people out to the remote participants, to create that equality, to create that inclusivity. We have our persistent whiteboarding and language translation. We even have this capability now of creating what we call audio bubbles. So if you want to create video conferencing in an open space and you don't want the ambient noise and you don't want trolleys and bells interfering, you can create audio bubbles. We have video boundaries, so you can, if people are walking past the glass of a conference room, they don't suddenly appear in the camera. So very cool stuff. And so in closing, a few takeaways. Number one, ensure that the technology and the office environment provides choices to your employees. Make sure it's inclusive, it promotes equality and inclusivity, and it's exciting. Secondly, your employees want flexibility, whether it's because of childcare, seeing the kids off to school in the morning, being there when the kids come home in the afternoon, taking care of elderly, taking care of the pet. I love working with my dog. He's my office mate. Generally comes up on my lap at 5 o'clock. He says, "Enough working, Dad." Thirdly, clients want a refreshed client experience. They want it to be more fluid. They want it to be more seamless. We now understand that video is the new voice, so let's leverage that and let's harness that. And lastly, innovating at speed and scale. My father said to me when I was a young lad, he said, if you're standing still, you're really going backwards because the rest of the world is going forwards. And so I've told you a lot of things, and now I'm going to run a short video which is going to show you everything I just told you. Thank you. Oops. You have to notice down the bottom I said thank you in Irish. It's in green.